Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be doing an in-depth guide for Maokai in Season 11. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton. Come by, check out the stream. Starts around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on YouTube every night. Very friendly, chill community. We'd love to have you. We usually go till about 3 a.m. And if you like this guide, be sure to check out the rest of the content on the main channel as well. We have lots of patch notes, fresh tier lists for every patch, and tons of other individual champion guides, topical guides like how to one-trick better, or like best one tricks, how to macro better, how to micro better, what is dodging, should you be dodging, does luck exist in League of Legends, and just dozens and dozens of other guides, so be sure to check all that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So first, I just want to give a little overview of the champion, his abilities, and talk about his place in the meta right now and why I think he's so strong. We'll look at some of the popular builds and statistics behind those builds. Then I'll go over just some overall strengths, weaknesses, items that you might consider, and runes that you might consider. Then I'll finish off with just a couple of tips for the laning phase. Okay, and just for reference, last season I finished as a D4 support. Right now I'm high platinum, just working my way back up. I've also been leveling up my Smurf quite a bit, and I will just show you this here as far as win rates go, because I get asked a lot, well, not a lot, but there's, you know, occasionally some people there's like, why Maokai so much, why Maokai so much? Well, this is my Smurf, and I have like a 70% win rate on Maokai after 54 games as of the making of this video, right? And then even if I get over to, you know, my main for now, that's there too. And note that, and I've talked about this in other videos, that a lot of the climbing has been suppressed, especially at Platinum and lower. So if you'll notice, like, this is just Platinum 2, getting really close to Platinum 1 there, but it's still top 2.5%. In the past, being right here in Platinum would have been like 6 or 7%, and 2.5% would have been Diamond 4. But because of the way that they have lowered dramatically the amount that you're gaining and losing for wins and losses, then you have to have a much higher win percentage to get to higher ranks. And so the percentage has definitely been skewed to where Platinum is now the top 6%, when historically it's been like the top 10 to 15%. And then once you get to Diamond, that's about the top 1%. So anyways, just a point of reference there. Let's go ahead and start talking about Maokai. So to start off with, he has really nice base stats all around on several different fronts. He is a tank, not quite as high on the health as some of the other tanks out there, but still pretty good health, pretty good armor, starts at about 40 armor, pretty good movement speed for 335, but he also has 375 mana and 7.2 mana regen. And this is really nice for tanks, because if you look at Leona, I believe she starts at 300 mana, and has like a 6 mana regen, and he has a 7.2. So this means that he actually works pretty well with mana regen items, not as well as, you know, like a Janna, Soraka, or a full-on Enchanter, but better than some of the other tanks. And he's able to cast spells more than some of the other tanks as well, because his base mana is really high. Okay. And that's why, you know, a lot of people said that Maokai was going to be dead after last patch. This is patch 11.2 right now. And on this patch, they nerfed the mana cost on his seeds by a decent chunk. I think it was 20 at max rank, so taking it from 80 to 100 per seed. But because you're going to be getting multiple mana regen items, and because he has such a high base mana regen, it really didn't affect him that much. I said it would probably be about 0.5% to a percentage drop in his overall win rate, and that's what it is. He's still about 53%, which is still going to be really high, and I think that's going to go up a little bit on the next patch. So him having a lot of mana is actually very useful. And then once you get to his passive, it starts off at 30 seconds and scales down to 20 seconds. Then every time you cast a spell or you get hit by an enemy spell, then it's going to reduce the cast time by 4 seconds. And this basically heals you for a pretty low flat amount, but then scales into 6% to 13% of your max health. So it's a pretty good chunk of healing. And in team fights, you'll probably be able to get this off, you know, maybe a couple of times. And in the laning phase, this helps sustain you. So whereas some other tanks like Leona and Nautilus can be a little bit more susceptible to poke in the laning phase, Sap Magic really helps Maokai stay topped off and makes it difficult to poke him out of lane early, compared to some of the other tanks out there that are popular. The first ability is Bramble Smash, and this just does a little shockwave in front of you. It slows people by 99%, so a decent little slow. If you are within 300 range, it will stun and knock people back, so that counts as a displacement. That's really important for several reasons. Number one, it stops people from doing any sort of movement ability if you time that correctly. So If Leona is trying to E into your AD carry, you can Bramble Smash and knock them backwards. Now, it's not very far, it's a little bit, but it stops the movement. Just a normal stun or a root is not going to stop the movement if somebody is already sort of in flight, right? But with this, if Zach is trying to jump on your AD carry, or Jarvan's trying to flag and drag, or just anything else that's not unstoppable that's trying to dash, Lee Sin's trying to connect with his second Q, you can knock him out of that. So that makes him surprisingly pretty good at peeling if you can time that correctly. And you can scale it up to where it does decent damage. This has been nerfed over time. I believe it was as high as 270 at one point. They've nerfed it all the way down to 230 with a much lower AP ratio. So this is what you're going to max last with the current iteration of Maokai. Now that might change as the season progresses, but right now this is what you want to max last, although historically this is what you would have maxed first. Okay, and then your second ability here is Twisted Advance. So it dashes towards an enemy and you become untargetable while you dash. That means that you can dash through things like a Vagar cage. If there's something that's in flight coming at you, is going to cancel that. So if Ashe tries to arrow you to the face and you do this, you're going to be able to go right through that arrow. If Karthus is trying to ult and you time this correctly, and you twist it advance onto a person or a minion or anything else while you're untargetable, that ult will not hit you. If Fizz, attaches a fish to you and you go untargetable right when the fish comes up, it's not going to hit you. So there's a lot of different mechanics you can dodge because this goes untargetable. And of course, everybody's favorite, you can cancel tower shots by doing that as well. So if you open up with your R, you just walk up to them and then just auto attack them, Q them, take a couple of tower shots. You can W to reset the tower aggro and cancel one of those shots if you want to. So it's basically anything that Fizz can avoid while he's up on his trident, or something like when it least repels, anything that those, or Vlad pulls, anything that those things dodge, he's going to be able to dodge as well with his W if you time it correctly. Also, it's targeted. So you are untargetable while you're doing it, but it is a targeted ability, which means you cannot miss, and there is an unlimited range on this, as far as I know. It's at least a very, very far range. I don't know if you would follow a teleport. Okay. So if they teleport or United Stand, it says that it won't go that far. So I don't know the exact range, but it's far as hell. Basically, they can flash and use a dash, and you will still follow them. So you got to be careful. This is a double-edged sword, but most of the time it's going to be a good thing. So if you can get close enough to something like a Vayne, you W onto her, she's not going to be able to tumble away. If Kai'Sa, tries to dash away, if they go invisible, you still target them and go after them. If it's Ezreal and he blinks away, or somebody flashes away, or whatever, you're going to follow them. They're not getting away, so it's a very, very guaranteed piece of CC, and that's really handy because there's no outplay potential to that. The only thing you can do is Hourglass or something, but for the most part, you're not going to be able to dodge it, so it's very nice. However, the trade-off is it has a really low engage range, so his engage range is not going to be as good as something like a Leona or a Nautilus because of that, but it's a really, really reliable piece of CC. And it can CC someone for up to 1.4 seconds. This is what you want to max out second, because it does pretty respectable damage, has the same AP scaling as this. Not that that matters too much anyways, because the scaling is the same at level 1 or level 5 in the ability. But you're really getting it to lower that cooldown from 13 seconds to 9 seconds. And then you're getting that root duration from 1 second to 1.4, which is a pretty big deal. And then we come to his marquee move, the thing he's most well known for right now, the thing that is most overpowered about Maokai, and why he's taking over in the support role, or at least is extremely strong at all levels of play. Even in pro right now, I think he's got a 60+% win rate internationally. He's one of the highest winning supports that has more than 30 games on it at this point in the season. But this Sapling Toss has 1100 range, so that is more than double the range that you can place a ward. So 1100 range, it's about 1,000,000 miles away. And it puts this sapling in a bush. Now, that sapling will stand there until somebody walks up. And I believe the target range, the sight range is 475, so it's about half of a ward in terms of sight range. So I think it's 350, I believe, is the target range where they trigger it. They have to get pretty close to it. And then it ends up running between 400 and 460 movement speed towards them. So that's going to be faster than most champs that do not have Moby boots. and that depends on your type of boot. Now, I think it says it under details here. Yes, so if you have brown boots, it moves 425. If you have no boots, it's 400. Berserkers or Ionians, or just other like tier 2 boots, it's 445. Then if you have fast boots, like boots of swiftness or boots of mobility, it's going to be 460. So most of the time, it's going to be 445 in a lot of situations, which once again is going to be faster than pretty much anybody that doesn't have mobility boots. Maybe there's some fast people with like swiftness that could get away with it depending on their runes, but it's going to catch most people. And whenever it runs up to them, it does a set amount of damage, and then it slows them by 35% for 2 seconds. That's a really long slow. That's a non-decaying slow. So it's pretty meaningful. But if you throw it in, so if it's just outside a bush, it's going to do 125, 8% of their max health, and then 8% per 100 AP that you have. You're not going to get a ton of AP most of the time, between 100 and 200. So this is probably going to be about an extra 1.5%. So let's call it 9.5% in a lot of situations. Now, if they end up, or if you put this in a bush, and then it gets someone out of a bush, then the damage is doubled. So now it's going to go up to 19% of their maximum health, plus 250 damage. So if someone has something like 1,500 health, that's pretty close to 20%, which is 1/3. So that's going to be 300 plus 250, that's 550. So that is a lot of damage, right? 550 damage, somewhere between maybe 500 to 550 damage against a low health target. Now, if they have 2,000 health, then it's going to do even more than that. It's going to do like 600. No. Did I do that wrong? 20% is 3. No, it would be more than that. It'd be 450 plus that. It'd be about 600 damage. So between 550 and 600 damage. And if someone has even more health, if it's a tank or something like that, you know, it can go all the way north, you know, up to 700, maybe even 800 health, depending on how much AP you have and how much their max health is. It is a nuke. It is a lot of damage, and it hits everybody in a radius whenever it splashes. So the thing hits like a truck, and it lasts for a really long time. So it lasts for 30 seconds if it's in a brush, and it gets 2.5% extra time of your bonus health. So if you have 1,000 bonus health, then it gets 25 extra seconds. So it would be 55 seconds in a bush. So this means that health is really, really nice on him because it increases the seed time, and it also increases the sap magic, how much healing you're going to get off of that. So health is very good. AP, the AP scaling is not that great. That's something that you'll notice. It's okay, right? You get 0.4 here, you get 0.4 here, and then here, it's a small amount, right? It's like a little bit less than 1% per 1,000, and then you get a 0.75 on your ult. Pretty low cooldown, goes from 120 to 180. It's a very, very long range of 3,000, but it moves extremely slowly. Sometimes people will ping you and they'll be like, why don't you use your ult? Why didn't you use your ult there? Well, the main reason is it's so slow. Like, people can actually just walk out of it. They can just walk away if you do it from too far. So what you want to do ideally is when people are already fighting, then you use your Nature's Grasp, or use Nature's Grasp first, and then you run at them and flash and W or something else to tie them up, right? So you don't want to be just standing there looking at them and open with a Nature's Grasp. Like, it needs to be something that they're going to be tied up, or you're leading them. So you're cutting them off from running back to their tower or something like that. So if they decide to dodge it, then you're going to catch them anyways with your other stuff. So it's pretty tricky. So you don't want to use it as a flat out engage most of the time. It's better as either a peel or as a follow-up. But it can root for a really long time. If it goes for at least 1,000 range, it's a 2.6 root, which is absolutely nuts. That's getting into like Morgana Q territory. So very, very powerful ability, and it has a massive hitbox as well. The width is 240 per bramble, and there's 5 of them, I believe. So all of those, and they're pretty close to right on top of each other, but not exactly. So that's at least 1,200 width on this thing. So it'll literally take up an entire lane if you throw it. It's almost impossible to dodge if you get tied up with something. So very, very powerful piece of CC. Okay. Now let's start, and I will note about the saplings as well. They are not like normal traps or normal wards, like a Teemo Shroom or something. You cannot clear them. You can't auto-attack and clear them. You have to walk up to them and trigger them and get them to run. Now, they only run for so long, but a lot of champions cannot outrun them unless they have some kind of dash. so they are very, very difficult to sweep. So you can't target them, you can't sweep them, you can't disable them. They see through control wards, so if you throw it in a bush that has a control ward, you get vision of that bush. It's just like a Zyra plant. It's not considered a ward, so it's not, control wards don't interact with it. So that's a really, really powerful aspect of those seeds to keep in mind. They're extremely annoying and difficult to get rid of, and it's on a very low cooldown. Okay, so why is Maokai coming up right now in the preseason? People have asked that, like, what's up with that? He was pretty strong back in the spring of 2020. I think I played him a lot to get up to Diamond, and that was a tank version of him, and that was back when his Bramble Smash did way more damage. It did like that 250, 270, whatever damage was with it. And I don't remember the other items that accompanied it. I think you would just get Leandries. And I believe the seeds did even more damage than they currently do, although I don't remember the exact numbers on that. I think that it used to do all of the damage straight up, and now it's split over 3 seconds, so you can't stack as many seeds as once. I can't remember. But anyways, they nerfed something about it. So he has been a decent support for a while, and he's never under 50%. He's always like, okay. But what has really made him a lot better in the preseason is Imperial Mandate. So this item is only 2,500 gold now as of the making of this video. It's 40 ability power, 200 health, 20 ability haste, and 100% mana regen. And I think that's about 2,000 gold worth of stats, maybe 2,100 gold worth of stats. So it's very, very powerful, and you're not paying that much for the unique. And the unique reads, abilities that slow or immobilize a champion do extra damage on top of it. Let's just say like 45 on average. And then it's a 6-second cooldown now after the recent changes whenever this touches somebody. But for the next 4 seconds, if one of your allies hits the person to follow up, it does an additional 120 damage, and you and your ally gain an extra 20% movement speed for 2 seconds. So this is really good when literally every single ability in your kit triggers Mandate. And particularly the seeds from far away are going to do that extra, 45 damage. Now, if they run into multiple seeds within 60 seconds, it's like, yes, it's going to do a little bit less damage. It's not going to do 40 damage on that second seed because this goes on cooldown after the first one. But you got to remember, you're already doing an extra 600 damage per seed in a lot of situations late game. So losing 40, like in some circumstances where they run into multiple seeds, is not really that big of a deal. It's still going to give you pretty much full value in a team fight when you throw your brambles on them and it does all the damage. So it's still going to be a really, really powerful item that's going to be solid on him. So that's the main thing that has made him a lot stronger in the preseason. The other things that they've added in have been the Demonic Embrace. Now, this one's very popular with a lot of people, and it was nerfed a couple of patches ago, but it's still good. It's 3,000 gold, which is very expensive. I'll talk about how that affects, which items I like on him. But Demonic Embrace, 70 ability power, 350 health. That's really good. Your ability power ratios are okay. Your health is very strong. And then it does an extra 1.2% of their maximum health damage every second for 4 seconds. Now, as you do more damage, then this stays up. So whenever a seed hits them, it burns them for 2 seconds. So really, this is going to end up being about 6 seconds worth of damage, which means you're going to get an extra like 50% value out of it. So it's going to do like 6.5%, 7% of their max health. Very, very good, obviously, on seeds. And then you also gain an extra 10 armor and magic resist flat, and then 2.5% per additional champion that's affected by this. So you get a little bit of extra resistances as well. So this is a super powerful item. The only problem is it's 3,000 gold and the components aren't fantastic and it doesn't have ability haste on it. But nevertheless, this is usually the highest win rate item right now, and unless they nerf it again, which I don't think they will in the near future, it will continue to be strong. Okay, so that's going to be really solid. Now, another couple of things that's really good, and this is something that I have begun to appreciate even more recently that makes him very strong, is the Chemtech Putrefier. And this is getting a big, big buff next patch. So the Putrefier right now, you can read it here, it has 50 ability power, 15 ability haste, and then 100% mana regen. They are giving it an extra 5 ability haste, so that's going to take it up to 20, and they're changing the puff cap tox in the unique to be whenever you heal or shield somebody, then the person that you healed or shielded basically their next attack applies grievous wounds for 3 seconds for 60%. Now you might be saying, well, Maokai doesn't heal or shield anybody. How does that work? And to you, I would say, Font of Life. This has been a classic thing to combine with Ardent Censer. I've been talking about it on the channel for a long time, so if you've never heard of this, now you know. But whenever, so Font of Life, basically, if you slow or immobilize somebody, which once again, that's every single ability of Maokai's kit, if you slow or immobilize somebody, then it marks them for 4 seconds. They get a debuff over their head, almost like Mandate, right? And then whenever an ally basic attacks that person, they heal for 5 plus 1% of your maximum health over 1.75 seconds. Now, usually this doesn't matter that much. I mean, if you have like 1,500 max health, it's like, okay, they're going to heal for 20 over 1.75 seconds. Like, not that big of a deal. It does add up, you know, some games, you usually get between like 800 to maybe 1,000 healing off of this rune. It's okay. But the main attraction is that the healing counts as a heal from you. It is not lifesteal on the person. It is a heal from you, which means that anything that triggers off of you healing will trigger off of this. That's Ardent Censer, Staff of Flowing Water, and the new Chemtech Putrefier. Okay? So what this means is that if you hit a seed on somebody, or if you are onto somebody, or whatever, as long as your allies keep auto-attacking them, you're going to put 60% healing debuff on their entire team, basically permanently, right? Because that mark stays on them for 4 seconds. They can hit them for up to 4 seconds and still get this on them. And then the last time that it triggers, it's going to trigger for 3 seconds. So if your ally auto-attacks them 3.5 seconds into Font of Life, then they're going to put that 3-second debuff on them because there's no cooldown on that debuff. So that's going to be 6.5 seconds of 60% healing debuff on everybody. And if you put more slows on them, it's going to trigger even more, right? So then if you put, you know, throw a seed ahead and they walk into a seed or something, then it's going to start all over again, right? So every time that you slow them and trigger Font of Life, that's 6.5 to 7 seconds of 60% debuff. If you keep slowing them and doing that indefinitely, it's permanent. Now, why is this really good? Because it gets everybody, and you can control it, and it's very reliable, right? Something like Thornmail is nice, but the problem is they have to hit you, right? So even if you kind of go in and you're just, if you're going like Tank Maokai and you're just kind of banging with their tanks up front, they don't necessarily have to hit you. They can, but they don't have to. And if they hit you, it's still just going to be the 40%. You have to actually immobilize them in order to get the 60%, and that lasts only for 3 seconds, right? So right now the Putrefier is also immobilized. They're changing it next patch. And immobilize is okay. Like, it's still pretty good because your W immobilizes. If they're close enough to your Q, that can immobilize, and your ult immobilizes. So it's nice. It's like, it's good right now because it lasts for 3 seconds, but that font basically extends the time to 6 seconds and puts it on everybody, even with your seeds. So that just means that it's way more likely that it's going to have more uptime on everybody, even if they don't get hit by some of your, you know, full-on immobilization. So I think it's going to be about 100% efficient already. Let me just math this out here real quick. I could have done it before the video, but whatever. Times 22. Oops. So we do 50 times 22 for that. Okay, so that's 1,100. And then we've got 20 times 27. 1,100 is 1,640. And then 100% mana regen is 500. Okay, so you're paying 2,140 for the new upgraded Putrefier. So that means you're only paying 160 gold for basically 100, or for 60% Grievous, pretty much permanently on the enemy team. And this item is just, like, these are all such good stats. Like, the extra ability haste is great, means your ult's going to be up more often, your W's are going to be up more often, and most importantly, your seeds are going to be up more often. So you can just spam those seeds everywhere, and you have the mana regen to go with it, and you have that little bit of extra scaling on the ability power. And if you can get this item, that means your carries don't have to get this item. That means your AD carry doesn't have to buy Executioners. Your mid laner doesn't have to get Oblivion Orb. So this is super, super handy. There aren't that many other champions that are powerful right now that can get an item like this and deal with it as well as Maokai can, right? Because like your Leonas and your Nautiluses and your Rels and all that, the tanks have a hard time getting grievous wounds. It's like, yeah, you can get the Bramble Vest, but once again, they have to hit you to trigger that. And it doesn't give you a lot of other stuff, right? It doesn't give you like cool things that you need to scale. So that's a huge benefit of this. And there's going to be a lot of Moonstones running around. Yes, they are nerfing Gore Drinker, but there's going to be, you know, still a lot of Conquer, Ravenous Hunter, Ravenous Hydra. People are still going to get Gore Drinker. There's still going to be a huge amount of healing in the game. And so the Putrefier is just a fantastic second item, I think, a lot of times. So it low-key has about the same win rate as the Demonic Embrace, but you just get it much faster than Demonic Embrace. It's 700 gold cheaper. So yeah, if you're really rich, Demonic Embrace is going to be a very good pickup, or if they actually have no healing on their team. But in a large amount of cases, the Purifier is going to be good. Now, Morellonomicon is pretty good too. You do have more ability power and you have the health, and he does like both of those. But it only does the Grievous if they're below 50% health, which is still good, but it doesn't have CDR on it, and it doesn't have mana regen on it. And I really am coming to like these a lot more because you don't need to frontline as much as Maokai, and the ability power really doesn't matter that much. This is also 200 gold less, because his ability scaling is not that great. He just has really high base damage. So, anyways, that's my... that's what I would do, is the Putrefier. Not a lot of people do this item, but it's super strong on him, and that's what I like. And then another item that you almost never see on him that I think is really fantastic as well is Staff of Flowing Water. And a lot of it is because people probably don't realize you can trigger it with Font of Life. But people know Staff of Flowing Water is really powerful because of LS, and he's been popularizing Moonstone plus Staff of Flowing Water and all that stuff for a while. It does have a really high win rate. Well, a pretty high win rate. 56 is not as high as some of these. But situationally, as like a third item, I think that it actually can be quite good, because remember, the font counts as a heal. It triggers Staff of Flowing Water. So yes, the 10% healing and shielding is not fantastic on you. It's okay. It does interact with your passive. It does interact with Font of Life. So there is some value there. But just being able to put that buff on your allies, right? Just to give everybody the extra 15% movement speed and the 30 AP, can be very powerful. So that's definitely something to consider if you're weighing your options. And then late game, like, you could also do Void Staff, would be okay. Now, I think Demonic Embrace is probably going to do more damage than Void Staff. It depends on how much their max HP is. The less their HP and the more magic resist they have, the more valuable Void Staff becomes. But that is another option that's cheaper, that's 2,500. I just feel like 3,000 is just like, it's really expensive. But if you have enough when you come in to go ahead and get a Giant's Belt and a Blasting Wand or something, if you guys just like completely wrecked them in a team fight and you're rolling up with like 1,700 gold or something like that, yeah, maybe go ahead and go for Demonic. But it just depends. A couple more items that I'll mention here. Liandry's, it has about the same win rate as Imperial on paper, but I think that this item is not as good overall. Per second for 4 seconds. So it's 4% max health plus, you know, some amount. I mean, it's not terrible. It's okay. Hold on, let me see this. Because I think when it says lose magic resist, I believe that's not for you, right? It's like you gain like extra penetration, not your allies do extra damage off of Liandry. So I think it's worded really poorly on Lowalytics right there. But the main problem with this item is it's just expensive, right? It's 3,400 gold. Like, that's, you know, like Mandate plus another third of an item, right? It's another 900 gold plus Mandate, and you could be halfway on your way to Chem Tank, just about. So, or the Putrefier, I should say. So that's my biggest knock on this item, is that the user ignores this. Okay, so it does not lower the magic resist for your entire team. It's the person who triggers it lowers it. And usually your trading pattern, you're not staying in combat doing a lot of damage. They're walking over your seeds for very small periods of time. So yes, that little bit of extra damage is nice. You know, doing 4% of the target's max health. If they have 1,500 health, is going to be 60 plus 60 here. So that's 120 plus, you know, maybe 126 damage. So yes, Mandate, if you're triggering Mandate by yourself and no one follows up on it, then it's only going to be 45 damage. If they follow up on it, though, it's going to be 160 damage. So if someone walks over a seed and then your ally attacks them, Mandate's going to do about 160 damage to them. So in a team fight, Mandate is going to do about as much damage as Liandry's is a lot of times. Unless it's like a really, really long fight against a bunch of tanks, Mandate's going to be better. Mandate also has health on it. This does not have health. It does have more ability power, but ability power doesn't matter as much, if you remember. And it has a crap ton of mana, which is cool, but is that really worth 900 extra gold? And like I said, statistically, it seems like it's about the same, but in my experience, I just think that Imperial Mandate is just way better. And then you could also go for tanky stuff on Maokai if you want. The main thing that makes Maokai strong right now is the seed placement and just how well you can control bushes. I'll show you in a second when we finish up in just a minute some of the things you can do with this on the map. But that's what really makes it strong, is that those seeds really hurt and they soften people up before fights. And they make it to where it's almost impossible for anyone to come in and contest you for any objective if you're there first. And it just means that you win all of the vision fights. It's just extremely powerful. And Mandate adds to that by doing that extra little bit of damage. So it's not that you're AP. Sometimes people ask if it's AP Maokai. It's like, well, it's Maokai with Mandate, because Mandate does a lot of extra poke damage and brings a lot of utility to the fight. And that's something that like Brand and Zyra can't do as well. Like a lot of other AP champs can't use Mandate as well as Maokai does. So that's a big deal. Now, you can go for like things like Turbo Chem Tank or Deadman's or Locket and just be like a tank and just go in there and just like start fights and CC them. But the problem is, if you're going for that style, like you're not great at starting fights, you know, because you're really short range on your 525. Your CC is not as long if it's point blank. Like you have 1.4 on your W. There's kind of a long cooldown at 9 seconds. Your ultimate point blank is only like 1 second or something. It might even be like half a second. So it's like you're okay at doing that. But something like a Leona or you know, a Rel or something like that is just going to have more CC and they're going to be tankier than you most of the time. Like what's unique about Maokai is that he's a hybrid blend of this sort of poke mage, just vision monster that also happens to have some CC. So you can do these things and they do have high win rates, but I think that style of play is just not as strong as the Mandate version for now. But that's something else that you could definitely look for in the future, or if your team just really needs a hard engaged tank, you just don't have a tank, that's something that could be optional. So his overall strengths are Supreme Vision, really high damage, high CC, and then just really good stats in general. Like I mentioned, his base stats, his items are very good. You can go for some tanky stuff secondary if you want. So if you want to go like a Deadman secondary after Mandate, if you want to be able to roam around or you know, do something like that, you can. And then the runes are pretty good on him as well too. Now, I really like going for Aftershock, and the main reason is, like, it does allow you to have some tankiness for those all-ins, especially early on. You know, you can W in and kind of fight to the death if you need to, or trying to peel the back line against an assassin, because you will have some health, right? With this, you're going to get 200 health, and then Putrefier, you're not going to get any. But if you do get Demonic Embrace or Morellonomicon or something like that, then you can sort of tank a little bit, versus if you don't have Aftershock, if you take something like Comet, you're going to be super, super squishy. So I don't recommend Comet, even though it does have a bit more tankiness to it. We can look at the stats here on these. Guardian's actually pretty good as well, if you need to protect your ally. And if you're going to go like Staff of Flowing Water, that does get a little bit better because the 10% plus healing and shielding does apply to Guardian, so that's handy. And then you get Font of Life. Second Wind is probably my favorite one during the laning phase, just because it helps you out so much against poke. Bone Plating can be pretty good if they don't have a poke lane, and like if they have a melee support. And then I really like going for the extra health off of Overgrowth, because it fits into all the rest of your scaling. But you can do Unflinching. You just really shouldn't be getting hit by that much CC, to be honest with you. You should be kind of hanging out on the back line, chucking seeds, just being ready to peel or counter engage. But Comet, I mean, as you can see here, it does have a good win rate with the 53.4. I don't think you need Mana Flow Ban. It is nice. That would allow you to take something other than biscuits, which is what I like secondary. So it's okay, but it just feels like Transcendence. I don't know. Transcendence feels kind of weak, and then like Scorch early on. Like, you can do it. You're just gonna be a lot squishier if you do that. And if you do this, you're gonna have to take Font second, or you're not gonna be able to do the Putrefier, Staff of Flowing Water. Like, you're not gonna have those options on the table, and so it's gonna take away some really powerful options if you don't have Font. So that's gonna basically price you into getting Font, and something like Overgrowth or Second Wind as your secondaries. Now, the secondaries that I really like Biscuits because that permanently gives you 150 mana. It gives you a little bit of sustain in the laning phase, which is cool, but it's really that 150 mana is pretty nice. And then I like going Boots because you don't really need to roam a lot early. You have very good vision control, and you're just kind of playing to sort of scale up and get those team fights going on. So I like getting the free boots early on. That also offsets because you're getting Sorcerer boots, which are a little bit more expensive. It offsets the cost a little bit, which is nice. Or you can also, like, Cosmic Insight's pretty good. Like, your summoners aren't as clutch as other roles. Like, yes, your Flash W is nice. You probably won't have to use your Flash defensively as much if you're getting vision properly with your W. And then your Ignite or Exhaust, you're not going to be that close. Like, you will get close eventually. Like, it's nice. It's nice, but he's just not, like, as reliant on summoners as some of the other people out there. And you don't have a lot of items that are going to benefit from item haste. You do have Mandate where the cooldown is affected by that. But, like, Purifier's not affected. Morello's not affected. You know, Demonic Embrace is not affected. Staff Flowing Water's not affected. So, like, all of your other items, you're not getting a lot of stuff off of the item haste other than Mandate and your Sweeper. So, anyways, it's okay. But yeah, my favorites are just Magical Footwear, Biscuits right now, and then just an Aftershock build from there. Check out my support tier list for whatever the current patch is whenever you watch this, and I will have the latest recommendations depending on what they nerf, what they buff, and how the meta shakes out. Okay, so Itemization, got the runes there, and then I talked about these unique aspects of him. Let me just go over a couple of things on the map really quick, and then we can, we'll just call it a day. And I'll see if I can keep this, you know, under 45 minutes or so. So, you can look for level 2 all-ins. It depends on the champion, but he does quite a bit of damage early on with your W plus your Seed. So, especially if they walk into a Seed. Now, I like to start off with Seeds level 1. And let's say that you're on blue side here. You can get some really good information and start off with some decent poke with these Seeds. So, if you walk up and you stand right here, you can actually throw a Seed here. And the Seeds default to 30 seconds. So I would throw this over here around like 110 or so, because most of the time they're going to leash right here when the camps come up at 130. And then they're going to walk down into that tri-bush within 10 seconds. So it's going to explode at 140 if you do that. But that's what I really like to do early on. And then you place one there. Then you can come over here, you know, place one on and help your jungler out. And then as you run back to lane, you need to start running back after maybe 5 seconds or so of helping your jungler out. Then you can throw one right there. And so, you know, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have to walk through some of these, and it's going to do a lot of damage to them early on. So you already soften them up a little bit, especially against, you know, champs that don't have a lot of sustain early on. That can be really handy. And then in the rest of the laning phase, I like just chucking some over here, like on the corner of this bush. Especially people that aren't used to Maokai are going to stand close to this, and you know, they'll just keep running out of this bush, running at them. Now, this is not only has the potential to do some damage there, but it's also going to push that back minions, like the ranged minions. So if you hit them with one of those, it's going to do like half damage to the ranged minions. So that's just a pretty good way just to help push and ensure that you're going to get level 2. It keeps them out of this brush also. No one's ever going to be able to sit in some brush against you in the early game, which is really handy. And then you can position forward, and as soon as you pop level 2, you know, just look for that flash W. If you have an aggressive 80 carry, you know, just ping that you're going to go for it if you have a Misfortune or a Gen or something, and then just go in, flash W on top of them, just throw a Seed, like, you know, right here, just a little bit behind them. if you can. Go ahead, if they go down to like half health, pop your ignite before they heal, and then they're going to have to flash out. And sometimes they'll flash into that seed and get hit anyways, and you might be able to run them down and kill them. But in the vast majority of situations, people are going to underestimate that all in. Or I guess if they're going to underestimate it sometimes, depending on your elo. But if you do get them with it, then they're going to have to flash out. So you're basically trading flash for flash. And if you can trade your flash and your heal, then that's going to be really handy. That's going to put them on edge, because then if you ever catch them again, then they're dead. And it allows your jungler to come down and maybe make a play later on. And you should have pretty good vision with your seeds and your warding anyway, so I don't think you're going to be as vulnerable as like the enemy AD carry is going to be in a lot of circumstances. And definitely if they get hit by one of the seeds, or if they're standing in a bush, then you can definitely kill them. So like if, you know, they're AD carry or whatever, or maybe they're support, maybe they're Lulu, like you pop level 2 and they're Lulu standing in this bush, definitely flash on top of them. And if you get that seed in a bush, they are absolutely dead. If they don't run out, it does so much damage. So that's a really good potential all-in right there. And then later on as the game progresses, you just want to be, the main strength of Maokai is locking people out of objectives, right? It is so difficult to get through him later on if you've never played against a good Maokai. And this is really where he starts to shine. It's in that mid game and into the late game. And you can see this statistically as well, right? Like once he starts to get higher links in the game, his win rate just starts to go through the roof. And the reason for that is if you're playing him well, then you can lock them out of these objectives. So what do I mean? Well, you can place like actual wards here. Let's say you're trying to go for a dragon. You place a ward there, place a ward there, place a ward there, and then I'll use this for like where you can put your seeds. Just put your seeds in all the brush around there, right? You put a seed here, you put a seed here, or whatever. If there's someone that could come from the south, you can put a seed down here. You're just surrounded by seeds. Just put your seeds everywhere. Depending on how much ability haste you have, you can seed everything up. Every time they walk through that, anyone that walks through it, it's going to be, you know, 20% of their max health plus like 500. Or I guess plus 250. So it's going to be like 600 damage every time they walk through it. Right now that's before magic resists and all that stuff, but it's usually like 25, you know, a quarter to a third of their health, depending on how squishy they are and how much magic resist they buy. And that's really, really hard to deal with. And you can keep putting them there. So if they walk in, you know, their support's coming over here to try to ward this, like, oops, I walked into this, you know, seed hit me, oh crap. And then they have to back up because they're like, is he waiting on me? Right? Is he going to jump me from behind this wall? And you can do that sometimes too, where they're going to be thinking, is someone coming at me right now because I just got chunked? And then you just throw another seed in the bush. What are they going to do? They're going to have to walk back through that bush again because they can't get around this thing. Like the engage range is so close. If you put it right on the tip of these bushes, they cannot walk around them. If they want to go through there, they have to walk through them. So they can play this little game of cat and mouse. You know, if they happen to have a Moby Boot support or something, you know, they can walk in and then run away and think they're cute. Like, haha, I baited the seed. And you just keep throwing seeds in there over and over again. That's one of the real reasons why this has become so much stronger, is there's so much more CDR now than there used to be. Back in the day, if you went the old school Leandries, it didn't have any CDR on it. If you went Sork Boots plus Leandries, you had 0% CDR. But now you can get Mandate plus Putrefier, that's 40% ability haste. And you can take the little 8 ability haste rune, which I really like, and that's going to give you about 33% equivalency in CDR. So that means that these seeds are up like all the time. It's like a 6-second cooldown on these seeds, and they're going to be lasting for like 40 to 45 seconds. And you're going to have 200% mana regen. So you can just place these seeds all day. And if you go Ionian Boots, which I'm not sure, I still think that Sork Boots are probably better, but you could go Ionian Boots and you'd probably get up to, you know, 40% CDR equivalency. But anyways, that's what's so hard, is like, how the hell do you get through this? Like, you have so much vision and it just keeps poking you for just like a third of your health. You just have to give up every objective. Like, it's so difficult to get to him through this. If it's the other side of the map and you're trying to lock out Baron, right, you can just throw some seeds in here. Now, there's not as many seed opportunities if you're on blue side. You can still definitely throw quite a few seeds in here, and it's going to be tricky to get through them. Now, you can also put the seeds in, like, forward bushes. Like, if you stand here, you just keep throwing seeds out and just poke them off there so that they can't get around. right? Or if it's the other way around, if you're on red side and you're trying to seed up all this stuff, you know, just keep dropping these seeds. And I know sometimes people say, well, Maokai is gimmicky. Like, not everywhere on the map is going to have a seed, is going to have bushes. It's like, true, but all the important places are, right? The Dragon Pit and the Baron Pit are going to have a lot of bushes around there. Even if, like, it gets burned because it's Fire Drake or whatever, all of these brush are still going to be there. I'm pretty sure this one may not be there. I can't remember. But a lot of the brush is still going to be there. And if it's Water Drake, there's even more brush. So that's what you do. You just fight around objectives. And you can force objectives really early. You can like try for 20-minute Barons. Because if you have the right kind of team comp, obviously. But you just get vision of the area and just throw up those seeds. If they want to come fight you for Baron, they got to go through the minefield. And they're going to show up half health. You just turn around and kill them. It's just supreme vision control, supremely difficult to deal with. And even if you don't have vision control of an area, you can start to establish vision control of the area just by dropping these seeds in and then coming through with the sweeper, right? So, for example, let's say that you lost control of the Baron area and you're trying to regain control. You're walking up as Maokai. It's 1100 range on these things. Let's say that they're trying to get you. They're trying to be cute, sit in this, you know, right here with their support and 80 carry. You know, you can walk up right here, chuck a seed in there. And there's like, oh crap, he spotted me, and then they're going to get blasted for like a third of their health a lot of times. Then after you've established that, you can walk up. Maybe they're trying to get cute, you know, and bait you in this bush. No problem. Throw another seed in there over this. Now you see them. If they're not there, okay, then the seed stays there. Maybe they're hanging out here. You just walk up. Seed right there. Seed right here. Okay, they're not doing Baron. Cool. Okay. Seed right here. Okay, they're not there. Cool. Okay, walk up. Throw a seed there. Oh, there they are. Boom. Then they have to back up again. Right? Now, especially if you have backup. Now, if there's like 5 people sitting there, or it's like an Ash arrow or something, yeah, they might be able to engage on you. But you just have such crazy range on these wards that have a 6-second cooldown that nuke them, that stay around for like 50 seconds. Like, you can just bully people out of anywhere just about by dropping these seeds as Maokai. You know, you're going to be able to get control of that area. And once you get control of this area, and then you start dropping down your own vision, and you start pulling these seeds forward, dropping even more seeds, it's just, you just slowly lock people out. And there's just almost nothing you can do about that. There are some champions, like Ivern's Daisy can walk through seeds and take almost no damage because she gets severely like reduced damage off of AoE abilities. There are maybe some mega tanks with like just a ton of magic resist that can deal with this, right? So like maybe Mundo with 300 magic resist or something can ignore the seeds, but there are not very many champions that are being played right now in the meta that are going to like this. They're going to need 2 big magic resist items to deal with that. And you can get Void Staff later and deal with that if you want to. But remember, even if they have max health, but they don't have a lot of magic resist, it's still going to hit them for a lot because it scales based on max health. So if you just got your, you know, your whatever Aatrox that thinks he's a big shot and he's walking around with Gore Drinker and Sterix or something, he's still going to get chunked for a pretty decent amount walking through this. Now, yes, they can lifesteal off of things, but if you're doing Baron, they have to leave and go find a minion wave or something to try to lifesteal off of. So, very, very powerful interaction. I'll go ahead and end there. I do want to get it done in under 50 minutes. But yeah, that's what's really strong. Come by, check out the channel, or if you're watching this in the future, just watch some streams from around, you know, like late January, the last couple of weeks in January, and that's the time that I'm making this video, and you can watch some Maokai in action. He's still going to be pretty good. And come by, check out the stream as well. I'm happy to answer any questions, so if you're watching this like late in the season and you want to know, is Maokai still good? What are the items you should get on him? And stuff like that. I'm happy to help you out. Just come by, check out the stream, and I'll have a chat with you about it. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.